All right, week 8, lesson 3. This is our last lesson for this week, and going to continue our lessons on holistic healing and how we can practically apply that to our day-to-day lives. So here's a little overview. So this is our last lesson of this week, and this is where we kind of bring everything all together. All of the skills and insights and practices that we have kind of covered up until this point. So this session is about integrating what we've learned into a sustainable and holistic approach to healing, one that really honors the mind-body connection and supports real-life symptom management for women navigating autoimmune conditions, right? That's what you're here for. So the healing process, as we know, is nonlinear and deeply personal, but integration offers structure and hope. We can't just treat the body or the mind in isolation. The whole person healing means addressing all interconnected dimensions: emotional, physical, relational, and neurological. So those of us with autoimmune disease often experience very fragmented care, right? You're probably very familiar with that. Um, like we've been talking about, holistic healing is about restoring coherence. And this model is rooted in trauma-informed care, somatic psychology, and psychoneuroimmunology, PIN, which is where emotional regulation and nervous system balance play very key roles in our immune functioning. So today we are focusing on how healing becomes most effective when we integrate the mind, the body, and the spirit. And this isn't about being perfect in all areas. It's just about recognizing that our emotional health, our nervous system, our immune function, and a sense of meaning or connection to the world and to one another, they're all influenced together. They're all integrated. So when we regulate our nervous system through tools like breath work and mindfulness and boundary setting, we can reduce chronic inflammation, which directly supports autoimmune symptom management. And this is a key bridge between our mental health and our immune health. So we also want to build emotional skills alongside daily self-care routines. That means naming emotions, recognizing triggers and glimmers, and practicing things like radical acceptance and journaling and mindful connection. It all works together to help build resilience. So it is these daily integrations of small, meaningful practices that really lay the foundation for our long-term healing. And this synergy is where transformation really begins. Um, Again, this is not about managing symptoms. We've tried that, doesn't work, right? What we are doing is rebuilding a more empowered, connected, and healthy self. So let's talk a moment about, how that might fit into your day-to-day life. We've talked about creating routines for like morning, midday, and afternoon. And hopefully you have taken some time to kind of think about what that might look like for you. How do you kind of want to start your day, right? Maybe something to help you get going and feel invigorated, set an intention for the day. And then midday, I think that's a great time to check in with yourself, right? You've probably dealt with some stress of the morning. Maybe you're getting to work and handling things there. So, some gentle movement and some deep breathing there really helps. And then nighttime, right? We're training the body that, okay, now it is time to rest and calm and get ready for sleep. So, some things there that make you feel safe in your environment, happy to be home, that just really cue the body that it's time to decompress from the day. So in our last lesson, we talked a little bit about recognizing triggers and glimmers. And this is really important because the awareness of those things is really the first step in transformation. So recognizing your patterns like people pleasing or emotional suppression or dissociation can really help us to reclaim that sense of personal agency. And by being able to identify our triggers and glimmers, we learn not just what causes us dysregulation, but also what makes us feel grounded and soothed in those moments. And we start to talk differently to ourselves. It's more about this thing happened to me instead of this is what is wrong with me, right? And that starts to bring a lot of clarity, reduce shame, and reconnect us with our sense of self and choice. So let's continue to focus on some foundational tools for internal healing. And these are tools that help calm the nervous system, reduce inflammation, and support your body in recovery from both chronic stress and autoimmune symptoms. So, first is the radical acceptance. We talked a little bit about this before, which is, again, just acknowledging reality as it is, without judgment, without resistance, without trying to change what we can't control. Because when we stop fighting against our pain or circumstances, we reduce secondary suffering. It is not giving up, it's just softening the internal struggle, which helps us conserve energy and build that emotional resilience, right? Pain in life is unavoidable. There are going to be painful things in your life, painful times in your relationships, in your job, in your health, right? Those are unavoidable issues of life. However, how you choose to approach them, right? If you resist it, if you victimize yourself, if you just ruminate on how bad it is and how much it sucks, right? You are doing nothing but prolonging your suffering. So you can't avoid pain, but you do have some locus of control over how much you suffer, even when bad things happen. Um, so, next, self-kindness practices. This is really, really important. And this includes practicing compassionate self-talk, especially in the moments of struggle. That's when it's most important. And research has shown that self-compassion lowers cortisol and boosts immune function, which is great. We want that. So saying things like, this is hard and I'm doing my best. It acknowledges how you feel, but it's also uplifting and empowering. And it's really sending safety signals to the brain and the body, which help to reduce flare-ups triggered by emotional stress. Lastly, trusting the body. This is also really important for those of us that are healing from chronic stress and trauma, because healing requires reconnection. So start by listening to your body's cues. Your body is always trying to communicate with you, whether that is through fatigue, tension, cravings, and just try responding with care and not criticism, because your body is not the enemy, it is just the messenger. And learning to trust it is a major step towards holistic healing. You are on a self-healing journey, and this slide, I think, really highlights three essential components of reclaiming your power and continuing to progress in this process. The first is informed decision making. And healing doesn't mean just blindly following advice. It means gathering accurate information about your body and your trauma history and your options. So, whether you're exploring a new therapy or a new supplement or a lifestyle change, take some time to evaluate whether it truly aligns with your goals and your values. Because again, this reinforces agency, which is your ability to make choices that support your healing. This path looks different for everybody. So, whatever feels right for you and your body, no one knows you better than you. The next is active healing leadership. And this means stepping into the driver's seat of your recovery. Set boundaries that protect your energy. Ask for help when you need it, right? Sometimes that's really hard for some of us. Seek out tools and therapists and communities that support your vision for health. Because healing isn't passive, it is a conscious, empowered, ever evolving process. And finally, narrative reconstruction. And that's the way we tell our story. We talked a little bit about this in the last session. It matters. The way that you tell your story matters. So instead of centering on the trauma and stress, begin to rewrite your story through a lens of growth. What did you learn? What have you survived? How has it made you stronger, right? This is how we shift from victim to author and from broken to whole and to empowered, because you are so much more than what happened to you. You are who you choose to become. So, here are some things to reflect on as we continue our journey of healing. Um, One is effective healing strategies. Again, reflect on the approaches that have most supported your recovery and your emotional well being recently, right? And again, be curious. Like maybe you like some things better than others. That's totally fine. Also, what are some challenges and obstacles that you've noticed? Identifying the difficulties that you have faced in applying healing practices and kind of noting those emotional or physical barriers is really helpful, because then like, that's something that I either want to get better at or it just doesn't really work for me. Um, and then checking in with your emotional and personal growth. Explore how your feelings and your self understanding have changed during this healing journey, and what do those next steps look like for you? So, we're going to close today with sustainability and self compassion, which are two of the most underrated tools in long term healing. First, embrace patience and consistency. I know I've probably said the word consistency 1,000 times during this program, but it's because it's so true. Healing from trauma and managing autoimmune symptoms isn't linear. It's more like a spiral, or sometimes it's like a big chaotic knot, I think. Sometimes you make a lot of progress, and then you kind of revisit old emotions or flare ups that reappear, and that's okay. That is not failure. It's actually a really necessary part of this journey, because it's the body integrating new safety. So just show up with steady and gentle commitment to your practices, knowing that small, repeated efforts matter more than big, inconsistent ones. Also, honor your individual rhythm. Again, everyone's healing timeline is going to look different. Some move really quickly, others take it kind of one micro step at a time, and that is okay. Either way is okay. Your pace is your pace, and it's valid, and you are where you're supposed to be. So trust that going slowly and with awareness and intention is going to lead to that deeper transformation than just trying to rush through this, right? I know we're all human. We like instant gratification. We want things to happen fast. I know you want this to just be better tomorrow, but please be patient with yourself. It's part of the process. It's a really necessary part of this healing, is just offering yourself that patience and kindness and consistency as you're moving through this healing journey. So, being able to do that really honors your body's wisdom and prevents that re traumatization. So, it is really, really important that you're being kind and compassionate to yourself. And finally, cultivate more kindness to you and yourself and your self talk. You will have hard days. That's just part of it. And that's okay. You're allowed to have hard days. But when you meet those days with curiosity instead of criticism, you are building that emotional resilience. So reframe setbacks as it's just part of the learning process, right? Growth does not mean perfection. It means showing up with care even when things feel messy. So don't give up, right? Even if it doesn't feel great. If it feels chaotic and it feels hard, that's okay. You just keep doing the work. Let healing be a relationship, not a performance, right? It's something that we are attuning to every day. So again, there's a worksheet to go with this that will just kind of help you further your integration of the holistic healing. And I hope you take some time to check it out and find it helpful. And I will look forward to seeing you in our next week lesson. We're going to start week 9. See you then.